Hey all, thanks for joining. My name is Deeksha Sehgal, and I'm the Senior Product Manager for Oracle Globally Distributed Database. With me, I have Pankaj Rishi and Habib from my team to help answer any questions during the session that you may have. So please feel free to post your questions on the chat window. About myself, I have over 13 years of experience with, in IT infrastructure services. I specialize in product management, database consulting for the on-prem products, technical design and integration from hybrid and multi-cloud solutions. So that's about me. As part of agenda, I'll be covering exactly like what exactly is a distributed database. Then we'll deep dive into what Oracle Globally Distributed Database brings to the table, its architecture, capabilities, and functionalities. Then I'll kind of cover some of the customer case studies, how it is being applied to solve different use cases. And then I'm gonna cover some 23 AI functionalities, and I'll introduce you to the new cloud offering, which is Globally Distributed Autonomous Database. And at the end, I'll wrap the session with a Q&A. So let's get started. So before we deep dive into Oracle Globally Distributed Database, I would like to talk a little bit about what exactly is a distributed database. So it's a database that's basically stores data across multiple physical locations instead of one centralized location. And each location that you see here, it stores subset of data. And the physical distribution of the data is basically hidden from the application. The problem with centralized or non-distributed databases is that they can scale up to a limit or up to a maximum amount of resources that one server can offer, like what CPU, memory, and disk. But what exactly happens when your data volume is exponentially growing and it's exploding, the transaction volume is going to go up? Then customers basically embrace a distributed database kind of an architecture pattern where they basically spread data across multiple machines. So that's about distributed database. So the Oracle database basically became a distributed database in 2017 when native database sharding was released. And today it powers like many enterprise grade critical distributed applications around the world, be it like smart power meters, IoT, which, needs like high speed data ingest, millions of records per second, right? Credit card fraud detection, global payment processing applications, ad tech platforms, so you name it. And we are supporting all of those distributed applications around the world. There are two main use cases for distributed databases. One is ultimate scalability and survivability. About that is basically in which data is distributed and replicated across databases for hyperscale and fault tolerance. What do I mean by that is the horizontal elasticity or horizontal scalability is because the nature of the world is like sometimes we need to add capacity, sometimes we need to remove capacity. To serve that, basically the solution has to be very elastic in nature, right? And then customers are looking to break that monolith, right? It's petabytes of data. One database, it's really hard to manage, right? Takes weeks to back up and restore. And once you break, what customers are doing is they are breaking that one single database like monolith into multiple shards and manage each shard as one individual database, which takes like few minutes to back up and restore, right? Then another aspect related to this is fault tolerance, which actually gives you, as it's a shared nothing architecture. So it gives you a fault tolerance from a blip out or a brownout in a one data center kind of an outage. If one part goes down, the other part can still continue to serve the customers. The application can still continue to run. So that's about ultimate scalability and survivability. The another use case that I want to talk about today is data sovereignty, which we have seen in last few years coming very broadly from across the world. So there are mandates coming across the world, be it in Brazil, Indonesia, India, Saudi Arabia, and European Union, right? So what they mandate is the directive states is that the data should stay in certain jurisdiction or should not leave the country bounds of the country, right? So we have user defined data placement kind of methods where we are actually helping customers to comply with all the local data localization or regulatory kind of requirements that come across the way. Okay, so let's talk about Oracle Globally Distributed Database, which is a single logical database. Data is physically distributed across multiple databases, which are often called as shards. We use shards as a terminology here. Some other vendors use some other terminologies. We call these shards. So data in each shard is basically replicated for survivability. All shards can process application requests, making an active architecture. So it's a seamless application routing from an application point of view, from an from an operation point of view. It works like a single logical database. So data can be redistributed across shards, data centers, and regions while the database is running. It's all online. Okay, so it's basically horizontal partitioning of data across many many database instances. These are your regular Oracle database instances which you are using, right? So these can run anywhere, any hardware share. You can run it across on-prem or cloud, or a hybrid kind of an kind of deployment you can use. So let's take an example here to explain how it works. Basically, suppose we have three machines and one table which has say like 300 rows, and since it's a sharded architecture, we are sharding this table, suppose say by sharding key called customer ID. So those 300 rows, from 1 to 100 data can go to shard 1, and 101 to 200 data can go to shard 2, and 201 to 300 data can go to shard 3. Right, so this way we are getting a very nice, horizontal scalability, and basically the application doesn't need to know how many machines are running behind the scenes. It's seamlessly routing your request to the shards, because we have enhanced our JDBC, C++, Python, Go drivers to route your request to the shard where the data is basically residing if we are using a sharding key. The distribution of data is basically hidden from the applications. Why I say that is because, like I said, from an operation point of view, from an administrative point of view, from an to create your DDLs, to create your database objects, you don't have to log into all of these hundreds of machines which are running behind the scenes. So application can that only need data from a single shard can transparently send directly to that shard. So if you're specifying a sharding key, select star from customer ID, suppose say 1, it can directly go to shard 1 and fetch the data for you. Suppose we have a requirement of the queries that need data from across the shards. For that, we have a component called multi-shard query coordinator or catalog, which basically pushes the query from the app in the client will push the query to the coordinator, and coordinator pushes that query in parallel across to all these shards, and all these shards will run the optimized query, run the same query on the subset of data that they have, right? And will return the results back to the coordinator. Coordinator will basically then take another pass at the data, like scatter and gather, and do all the operations like which has been mentioned in the query, like order by sort, merge, and all these kind of operations. And the results will be relayed back to the application as if it is connected to a single logical database. So nobody needs to know how many machines are running or how many shards are running behind the scenes. Queries basically can be parallelized within and across shards to implement massive parallel analytics, and this is that is why we say that this is next generation big data done right. Next is about distributed data across multiple physical databases, and which basically allows data to be placed in multiple geographic location. What it avoids is, because the single database is run on single server, so it avoids that scalability and survivability issues, since databases or shards are independent of each other. The trade-off is that you keep the access local to one shard so that you get the optimized performance. And that's how the architecture has been built in a way. Requests basically that need data from multiple shards will get through a multi-shard query coordinator, like I said in my previous slides. Let's take a look at two customer examples. So, so data sovereignty is basically becoming mandatory in India for payment data. The Reserve Bank of India 2018 storage of system data directive states that the payment data basically must reside in India physically if both the payer and the payee are the Indian entities. And this actually became a showstopper for global financial services companies that store data for all countries in a single database in a single country. The key observation here was that the data can the data must physically be stored in India, but it can be accessed from anywhere outside India as well. So one of the largest US banks basically had to re-architect their payment database to satisfy this localization directive. Initially, what they used to do is they were storing all the worldwide payment data in US on Exadata systems, and the application and the database tiers were replicated across regions and inside the US itself. Right, they approached us for a solution to build an architecture which should be future ready. By future ready, I mean is India was the first country they want to comply with, but there are 6 more countries where the regulations are coming, and they want to work with us to comply with all those regulations that are coming in other next 6 countries. So they wanted an architecture which is definitely very much cost effective, and next is they needed a future ready architecture to comply with all the upcoming future regulations in upcoming countries. So what we did for them is Oracle Globally Distributed Database allowed them to keep their application stack deployed in US itself. They didn't have to redundantly deploy the application stack in other countries. What we did for them is we deployed one shard, we created one shard for them in India, and basically the application, the data has been automatically partitioned and distributed automatically, and baseline here is the application. The application stack which I'm referring to here is very much complex, which use like hundreds of microservices, JMS with the MQs, ETL with Informatica, and many REST API integrations, file processing systems, and all of that. But what we enabled them with, they didn't have to redundantly deploy the application stack. The application stack still continue to run in US, and the database, the shard basically that we deployed in India could seamlessly process the India data to the application and can store the data in India itself, and rest of the world data can be stored in the US shard. So we basically broke their database into 2 parts, right? And that became a very cost effective option for them. Imagine if they had to deploy application stack in each country that they had to comply with. I mean, it must have been it would have been a very cost prohibitive option for them, right? So that's about this case study. One thing is basically guaranteed that data regulations are definitely be going to increase. In fact, like I said, it's coming across the world. And I must say that Oracle Globally Distributed Database is very much well prepared in order to navigate those challenges and help the customers that they want to comply with all the data localization and the data sovereignty requirements that's coming across the way in business. This is another example. Let's take a look at it. And this is about our own BlueKai, which is a leading data platform for digital marketing campaigns. This is an ad tech platform. This is a hyperscale application. This is a truly internet scale application. This is I think this is the biggest deployment that I've ever seen, with the type of customers that I have worked with. This is a multi-petabyte database, 2.5 petabyte database, that kind of data volume that's being supported here. And it's been live on Oracle Globally Distributed Database for like 4 years now. And this application basically requires near instant response time. So the most of the times that you see ads on your browser based on your browsing history, I think most of the biggest web properties in the world are being powered by this platform. It runs actually 1 million transactions per second. It's a really high write intensive application. It runs 30 billion API calls per day. And with that, we are achieving 1.6 millisecond API response time with Oracle Globally Distributed Database. It runs on 104 commodity servers and 5,400 CPU cores and 77 terabytes of memory. It was actually running on a combination of Aerospike, Cassandra, and SkylaDB, and we have migrated this to Oracle Globally Distributed Database, from this kind of combination. The simplicity that it brings to the table is that the power of SQL that Oracle brings and actually help BlueKai to, with this kind of an architecture, enable them faster go to market, and they can innovate many times faster than ever before. Right. So this is about replication and survivability. This kind of an architecture is deployed for BlueKai, which is why we have deployed this architecture. So 52 nodes are spread across these three three data centers, and you see that one shard will have replica in the other data center. So it's an ultimate survivability thing for the application. If one goes down, we are still serving, the application can still continue to run and still serving the customers. So this yellow shard has a replica in the other data center, the red shard has a replica in the another data center. Because there could be some network outage, or there could be some flood or fire and localized fire in one of the data centers. We have the replica available, it can be failed over, and the application can still continue to run. Let's talk about data distribution methods. So Oracle has more data distribution methods than any other distributed database. Let's see how it actually works under the hood. We have a concept of called table family, right? So the data for all the tables for a given customer and its indices basically gets placed on a single chart. So that the query basically which is being routed from the application gets satisfied on a single shard itself, right? And the set of related tables can be for a given customer can be put together on a single shard. This is about sharded tables, which you see in red, green, and blue. Then there is another table type which is called as duplicated table, which you see in gray. These kind of tables are very smallish in nature. The data for these tables doesn't change that often, like a product table, dimension, or reference table. We push these tables to all these charts. So there are sometimes there are requirements to that we need data from sharded table and the duplicated table, or a non-sharded table, you can say. So the join basically can get satisfied on a single shard itself, and that helps us optimize the SQL performance and give us improved IO, right? So if we want to see, what all products that Mary has bought, it can directly go to the shard 2, and the join can happen, there itself, and the user will get the data. So these are the core principles behind the architecture, which will give you the optimal performance in terms of SQLs that you run, that transaction TPS that you get. So you have 3 shards. If you want more TPS, you can add. This is what horizontal scalability means, right? So you are getting 16k TPS with these 3 shards, and you add 3 more shards, and you're getting like 32k TPS also. Right, so that's about sharded and duplicate tables. Oracle supports value-based data distribution. It can distribute data by value, for example, by country or by product, depending on the business entity you are in, or distribute data by range of values, for example, range of phone numbers. We also support system managed data distribution. We are using example for the sharding key as customer ID, device ID, action ID, depending on the business you are in. It could be like meter ID, it could be reading ID related to your business. The sharding key doesn't necessarily have to be the primary key. It could be it could be multi-column as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be a single column. So that's all possible with Oracle Globally Distributed Database. So about system managed data distribution is that we use consistent hash algorithm to evenly distribute data across shards. So if you have like billion rows and 3 shards, by using a customer ID as a sharding key, the system is in charge. And by hashing of that customer ID, the rows will get evenly distributed across all these shards. And this will enable online addition of shards with minimal data movement. So these are all, you add shards. Basically, we will rebalance the data. You remove shards, the data will be rebalanced again. Oracle supports also composite data distribution. This is a very unique method to Oracle. No other vendor supports that. So basically, these are 2 levels of sharding, either a list followed by consistent hash or a range followed by a consistent hash. Let's talk about user-defined data distribution. So, user-defined data distribution can be done in two ways. The first example range that I've already used in my previous slide. So, I'll talk about a list-based example where you can actually have arbitrary values in the list and distribute that. So, if a customer state of residence, suppose say, is on East Coast of US, like New York or Florida or New Jersey, so you put them somewhere on the data center on East Coast of US. If you have customers whose customer state of residence, suppose say, is on West Coast of US, like Oregon or Arizona, you put them in, suppose say, in Phoenix data center, which is on West Coast of US. So you are basically distributing the data with the list-based distribution. So as the name suggests, user will have more control on the data placement, where they do want to place the data, what their topology should be looking like. They want to comply with any kind of data localization requirement, data sovereignty requirement, data residency requirements. That's all can be achieved with user-defined data distribution. Let's talk about duplicated data distribution. I've already referenced it in my previous slide. So duplicated tables are pushed to all the shards. This is basically being done to avoid all the cross-shard queries that are needed and cross-shard referential integrity checking. So this is about duplicated data distribution. Oracle also supports partition data distribution within each shard. First, data in any shard can be further partitioned by any data value such as state range, and then can be further partitioned by consistent hash. So this enables like more, faster joins in this area. Okay, so let's talk about online addition and automated data distribution, redistribution across charts to scale out or scale in. So as I said, you need, the nature of the world is like, you sometimes need to add capacity and sometimes need to remove capacity. So suppose there is a, holiday season struck in, and there's a Black Friday sale or a prime time for an OTT platform, and you want to add, that your transaction volume is going to go up. Right, and you have 3 shards, and you are adding, you want to add 4th shard at your will. You just add the 4th shard, and we have a concept of called chunk, which is nothing but sub-partitions of the data within the shard. If you have heard of like micro partitions in Snowflake, we're very similar to that. So, so these chunks, once you add the 4th shard, these chunks, you see that yellow, purple, and brown will automatically get moved to these 4 shard and rebalance the data. And once you remove this shard, your holiday season is over, and you want to remove this shard, the system will take care of rebalancing the data again, and will move these data back to the available shards. And this is completely online operation. You will not incur any kind of downtime or data loss during these operations. So this is an online operation. That's about the online the online edition. So that's how you can add these shards. Oracle has more replication methods than any other distributed database. So real world distributed networks are flaky, and Oracle Globally Distributed Database is very much well prepared for it. The real world networks actually cause sometimes long latencies and unpredictable stalls and slowdowns, and that can actually wreak havoc on your application's response time and availability. Oracle Distributed Database replication methods offer you synchronous, asynchronous, adaptive synchronous, and combination of local synchronous and remote asynchronous replication with or without local replica of the database. It is basically being offered to meet your desired RTOs and RPOs and all the application performance SLAs that you are looking for. So depending on the application performance and the RTO and RPO that you're looking at, you can choose the replication method and you can go about it. So Oracle replication can meet any scaling or survivability needs. So redo level replication using the active data guard, which has redo shipping capabilities, will give you the fastest performance, most complete SQL functionality, readable replicas, and simplest operation. The SQL level replication using Golden Gate provides like a bidirectional, it's for larger distances, gives you bidirectional replication, gives you fastest failover and fully writable replicas, including CDR like conflict avoidance and resolution. Oracle has more shard deployment architecture than any other distributed database. This is okay. This we can deploy shards on the independent servers. We like standalone commodity servers, like I showed you with BlueKai, how it is deployed like bare metal machines. And this is a very simple and low cost deployment option that's very popular among the customers. Oracle can also deploy shards on fault-tolerant scalable clusters, which can uniquely scale performance on the shard or use region using an ultra fast Exadata scale-out clusters. When you're using Exadata, you'll also get benefit from storage cell support and with remote direct memory access kind of capabilities as well. And it enables data to be accessed within the region itself without slow cross shard access and coordination if you're using Exadata. So this is a very good example of when basically distributed plus clustered works better than even standalone, right? So that's about it. Oracle can also deploy shards across on-prem cloud and multiple cloud providers. So it depends on you, the deployment option, that you want to choose independently for each shard and each country. And you can optimize your scaling needs and cloud availability of each country, where you want to put one shard in and where you can have hybrid kind of functionality or a multi-cloud kind of functionality here. Oracle can also deploy shard within a fault-tolerant cluster. So this architecture is useful for customers who want like a simple architecture, who doesn't need to distribute data for like data sovereignty or ultimate scale out. They are just using sharding to route specific SQL. The request from the application gets equal to specific nodes of a cluster for localized access and hotspot avoidance, which needs cross shard access or things like that. So cross shard SQL within a cluster will be very much faster, unlike distributed shard. So this is another example where clustered plus distributed works better together. Oracle's globally distributed database is designed for modern applications. So modern apps use multiple data technologies. So we know that everybody wants to drive value from their business data. So right now, today modern applications operate on diverse set of data like sensor, graph, machine learning, and spatial and whatnot. And to derive the value from multiple sources, that too in real time, and push to traditional applications is something that customers are looking at. And suppose many customers are using machine learning to give real time recommendations to their customers. Some are using graph analysis to detect fraudulent transactions. Some are using spatial to track online deliveries, right? So all these modern apps are using to drive the business value. But all these data processing algorithms are it's very difficult to derive value from all these data processing algorithms, and the breadth and the depth of these technologies are much way wider to target that to the applications and derive value from it. So it's much more complicated. But one approach that customers are look at is that to develop rich modern apps is to use a specialized database for each application need. But the problem with that specialized database approach is that it makes distributing data nearly impossible. Right, because each database will have different features to achieve that distributed architecture, because each database will have different APIs, different capabilities, and will have unique limitations. And this is somehow becomes the responsibility of the application developers and IT to combine all these features from multiple sources and the databases to make it in a single distributed database architecture pattern. Right. So but at Oracle, we are taking a different approach. And as we all know that we are a converged database, we focus on providing complete and simple support for all the modern data types, workloads, and development styles in one database. So we can not only support relational, but we can support relational, JSON, text, graph, spatial, and now vector too with 23AI. Right. So, and that too, we have a dedicated multi-shard query coordinator, like I said, and the data can can be accessed in row and columnar for row or columnar format. So all your OLTP and OLAP workloads are supported, right? So that's what Oracle is looking at to help customer navigate all those challenges, plugging in all the different databases. Using this Oracle as a converged database architecture, you can get unified data sovereignty for all the data types and workloads that are being consumed in your business and the environment, and you can get better insights from it. So think of it as a smartphone of data. New data technologies are being are features, but these are not separate products. So you're not to use a new data type or a workload, you are just adding a SQL statement instead of adding a new database, right? So that's about Oracle converged database architecture, and globally distributed database supports all of those things. With that, I'll like to introduce our newest cloud service offering, Oracle Globally Distributed Autonomous Database, which is available. And, whatever we have talked about, like in last 30 or 40 odd minutes, plus the autonomous capabilities, like all the self-tuning, self-performance, self-healing capabilities, that's what our globally distributed autonomous database brings to the table. So this is the most simplest, most functional, most mission critical cloud native distributed database service in the world. And you'll get all the benefits and it'll help you reduce cost with all the built-in low-code tooling, operational complexity of distributed databases being navigated also. Yeah, so this is what you can use. So I think most of you are familiar with the OCI console. So this is our cloud service. Once you log into the OCI, there is an option of Oracle database. Once you click onto that, you will see all the autonomous services and the Exadata services. This is what the service we have, which is called as Globally Distributed Autonomous Database. Once you click onto that, you will see the landing page, right? So, which is more, you have the same common feel of OCI here. And where on your left, you see compartments, few state and few other filters. And on the right, you see a big button which says create globally distributed autonomous database. And then there's a list option where you can see the existing databases, right? So in this demo, I'll probably, take you through how to easily build or deploy globally distributed autonomous database. So once you click onto this button, it will take you through the first screen. So this is where we actually ask about very, very generic information, very basic information, compartment, display name, and the prefix, the deployment type, version, and workload type. So as of now, some of the fields are the fixed options. So that's why you are seeing this as read only. As we add more flavors and the versions, so we will enable all of these options to pick and choose from, right? So we will enable that. So right now it's just the compartment provided the display name. So once you click on next, you will get to the next screen. So this is the page where all the magic happens, and you get to decide what kind of use case you are looking at. So I've already discussed about it. So I'll like two use cases, which is automated data distribution. This is more automated way of doing things. So if you are looking for like a horizontal scalability or a hyperscale performance kind of a use case, you do it with like system managed data distribution or automated data distribution. You have a requirement of like, you have 3 shards, you want to add 4th shard, you choose this data distribution method, and you can add shards and remove shards at your will. We will take care, the system is in charge. System will take care of rebalancing the data online without incurring any downtime or data loss. The user managed data distribution is basically to solve your data sovereignty and data residency kind of challenges. Suppose you want to have like 3 shards, in Europe, India, and US, and you configure those shards accordingly. So your India data can go to the India shard, Europe data can go to the Europe shard, and your US data can go to the US shard. So I think for today's demo, I'll do the user managed as a use case. And I'll take you through how to basically deploy this globally distributed autonomous database using user managed data distribution, right? So you can see that there are 2 options. One is list view, and there is another option using a toggle button, you can switch it on and it will take you to a map view. So what this map view essentially does is it will show you all the infrastructure that is there for you to deploy the globally distributed database, right? So for this tenancy, like I have 8 to 10 infrastructure. Suppose I want to, deploy 3 shards in 3 different regions. So maybe one in Ashburn, I'll put one in France and one in, suppose, say Mumbai, and I'll then click on configure shards. This will take me to this page, and so this is where we basically define the shape of our distributed database or the shard. So as I said, shards are basically individual databases that composed together will make a globally distributed database. So if I know that I'm gonna have more traffic in US, so I can change the shard count. Suppose, say I know that I have more traffic in US, I can put 2 shards in US, and I can have 1 shard in France and 1 in Mumbai. So these shard space names are basically being populated automatically, but these are configurable also. If you want to apply same settings to shard, you can just click onto it, and it will enable all of the settings to the same shards once you do the configuration for the first shard. Okay, so whatever regions I have I chose to put shards in, the hardware which is available for that region or the VM clusters which are already there in that region will be reflected here. So I'll just choose one of those. Maybe I have some more, I know that I have more usage in one of these shards, so I'll probably increase the maybe eCPU count and put to 8. Do I really want to enable eCPU auto scaling or not? Maybe yes, maybe no. So I'll just toggle on. It's a simple toggle button. Maybe I have more storage requirements, and I'll just click, I'll add more storage to it. And do I really want to enable data guard? So it's a simple toggle button here, and it's at a shard level. Do you want data guard in India? You can enable it. You don't want data guard in US, you can disable it. So suppose, say I want data guard. So whatever in whatever region I'm enabling the data guard in, basically the regions will show up. Or maybe I just want to put shard in, suppose, say US West Phoenix, which makes more sense, right? And I'll put it in one of the clusters. So all these clusters are also being shown here. So it's that simple. We give customers the complete flexibility in terms of how do they want to define the shape of their shards, and do they want to enable data guard or not, or enable auto scaling or not. That depends on them, right? So that they can choose. So for maybe France, I just put the data guard in London, and I'll choose one of those clusters. For the Mumbai shard, I'll choose the cluster, want to enable auto scaling, don't have that much storage requirements, enable data guard, and I'll just put the copy in Hyderabad, choose the cluster, and save the changes. So you see that we have 2 shards in Ashburn, for which the arrow is coming across to Phoenix. The data guard copy is in Phoenix. And France shard has a data guard copy in London, and the Mumbai shard has a data guard copy in Hyderabad. And you can also do view edit shards from here as well if you want to change any kind of configurations, right? So the next infrastructure component for the globally distributed autonomous database is the catalog, and we have made it okay. So the catalog, like I said, this is required for like scatter and gather and multi-shard queries. It stores all the metadata configuration. So we have made it very simple for the customers that we are picking the configuration from the first shard that we have defined, and we are populating the same configuration here. So if we want different configuration, we don't want data guard, probably we can disable it. So I'm just keeping it same for now. For this demo. Then there are some basic inputs which you need for every other database, like admin credentials, then encryption keys. Encryption keys can be different for each shards, and the character set options, the port options, TLS, and the tagging options, right? So you click on next, and you get a review screen, right? So you see that you have the configuration that you have decided for your distributed database. Then you get a validate button validation is very important. Once you click onto that, you get a green button. What do we do while we click on validate is that this does a very shallow level check that whatever in terms of the port conflicts. So, it will go and check that whatever ports you have chosen in terms of port conflicts, it will do a validation. It will check. Suppose you have said that you need a 16 eCPU database, and before you basically hit create, somebody else also came in and provisioned a smaller database, right? And now you don't have that much capacity or storage and things like that. So this validation is very important on those lines, right? So once you basically hit create, it will do deeper level checks, go at the runtime dynamically and figure out whatever capacity, whatever storage, whatever eCPUs we have mentioned, we have that available, and start. And once you hit create, it will start provisioning the entire infrastructure. So this is a truly globally distributed database which you can deploy across regions, across ADs, across countries. And I think that's the best functionality that we have brought in. Once you click on create, the entire infrastructure will be provisioned. I have a similar setup that I have talked about. So I'll maybe, take you through how it actually looks like. So this is the use case that I was talking about till now. So I'll show you the map view into it. So you have these shards. You can edit all of those from here as well. And once you switch off, I'll just show you what kind of actions you can take basically. Okay, so once you deploy the globally distributed autonomous database, you definitely want to connect to that database. So you click on database connection, download the wallet, and you have the connection string to connect to all of these database, right? So that's one. Then there's a performance hub, which will give you the aggregated or a combined view of the summary view of the performance metric of the shards and the catalogs. You can check from here which, maybe one shard gets, which shard is getting more storage utilized versus another. And then you can take a call on rebalancing things on the state that you are getting, right? So this is about performance hub. And then if you have different compartments, you definitely want to move resources from one compartment to another. You want to update display name. Then you have start, stop, summary, or manage certificate, or add tag kind of an option. This will show you the entire picture of your database, your version, your OSID, display name, data type, and TLS ports that you have chosen. Suppose you know that your shard is basically underutilized and you want to terminate, you are using system managed data distribution and you want to terminate few of the shards. So you just click onto it, terminate the shard, and the data will be rebalanced again, right? So suppose if you have a data sovereignty kind of a requirement, so you want to add shards. So you have already one in US, US and Mumbai and France. Suppose you want to have one more shard in, suppose say, Tokyo, Japan, right? And you do the configuration and follow the same workflow like I did, and you can add the shards here. So that's you can do. Then there is work request. There are no work requests as such to show, but these are more inclined towards the configuration issues and the provisioning issues that you might encounter or see during your provisioning of globally distributed autonomous database. So all can be tracked here, right? So this is about the demo. I'm gonna just switch it back to the deck. Okay. Yep. I hope that's visible. Okay. I got it.
Yes, I'm good.
All right. So, apart from that, in addition to what I've talked about, we also brings natural language to the globally distributed database. So autonomous database Select AI can translate natural language questions into SQL using an AI large language model. And the globally distributed database will actually help automatically route that query to the appropriate country or the shard where that query has been fired for. So, for example, how many total streams for each Tom Cruise movie were viewed in India this month? So, LLM basically generates this kind of a SQL statement, and the globally distributed database will take care of routing this query to the India shard, right? So, that's about natural language query. Now I have some 23 AI functionalities. Raft-based replication for extreme survivability. This is a new feature that we have brought in for globally distributed database in 23 AI. This is based on the very popular Raft quorum based replication protocol. This is a new replication method that we have introduced in 23 AI. It provides you automatic failover to a replica in like under 3 seconds. It's an active symmetric architecture. This is very similar to what other vendors have been doing, like Raft replication. So what customer basically has to declare a replication factor equal to the number of copies that they want to have across the distributed database. Basically the replication factor implies the number of copies to be maintained or stored across like these three shards. So I am using like RF is equal to 3 for this example I'm stating. The darker color that you see, green, red, and blue, shows the leadership for the subset of the data, and the lighter color shows the followers, right? So upon basically, so by default, all the reads and the writes are directed or are routed to the leader. Upon writing, the leader basically will replicate the data to its followers. And upon establishing a quorum, like 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 7, after acknowledging the receipt of the data, the leader will basically commit the data, and that's how we get zero data loss upon failover. So suppose if the leader fails, all the followers are there actually compete among themselves to become the leader. So once the new leader is elected, the reads and writes are routed to the new leader itself, and we get like we have tested internally, and we get like automatic failover in like less than 3 seconds, right? So that's about Raft-based replication. Okay, so AI vector search and RAG and globally distributed database 23 AI. So we are adding hyperscale and data sovereignty to Oracle database 23 AI vector search and RAG. Customers basically want to have better insights from their business data, and they want to enable they want to combine their similarity semantic searches with their business searches, right? And with starting with 23 AI, you can store your vector data using a new vector data type, and you can use new vector distance function and do these combine the business searches with the semantic similarity searches, and you can also accelerate the performance by using the vector indexes. And these vector indexes that I'm stating here can be actually partitioned and sharded by basically accessing only, and it helps actually to further improve the performance by accessing only those partitions which are needed for the specific searches. So customers will be able to get to combine similarity searches using AI vectors and search on business data about 2 different categories, like customers and products, in like a single distributed query. So that's what we are bringing in. Okay, so at the end, I'll just do a quick recap of what we have learned in last like 1 hour. So Oracle Globally Distributed Database is the most fully featured database. We offer more data distribution, replication, and deployment methods than any other database. And we are a converged architecture, which basically makes data sovereignty easy for the modern applications that uses multiple data types, workloads, and other different development styles in one development styles. Raft-based replication, which is in 23 AI, also provide fast quorum-based failover. We are supporting leading edge AI such as vector search, so that's how we actually support GenAI applications to achieve hyperscale performance and to comply with all the regulatory requirements to comply with data sovereignty as well. Autonomous capabilities with the globally distributed autonomous database that remove complexity and help reduce cost, and will help you deploy globally distributed database very quickly, very easily, and we give you that service. Apart from that, one thing that I want to mention is that whatever has been, whatever you guys are using till now with Oracle, whatever features you have been using, parallel query, secondary indices, transactions, joins, hybrid compression in memory. All that can be used with the globally distributed database. It's just that you are using Oracle database in a distributed architecture pattern, while you enjoy the enterprise grade capabilities that we already have with Oracle. So, yep, that's about it from my end. Over to Violeta.
Thank you, Diksha. Bear with me for one moment to share my screen. I see we only have got 1 minute left, so I promise I'll keep it shortly. Okay, and in the meantime, if you have any other questions, please use Q&A and we can provide some answers live. If not, of course, you can use the Slack community and come back to us if you need further information on globally distributed database service that we cover today. So regarding the useful resources part, there is a page, there are actually 2 pages where you can go and check the upcoming cloud coaching events, which are happening every Wednesday, same hour as today. There is the Oracle developer events, and there is the free cloud coaching events pages, where you can find information on all the sessions that are coming next. This month, we talk about AI. So there is going to be more session dedicated on the AI services available in OCI. Next week, we talk about Java meets generative AI, and we will show you how to build a knowledge management system with the Spring AI. Then we talk about Oracle Analytics and Machine Learning plus AI for citizen data scientists and business analysts. This is actually the session with which we end the June month. If you'd like to join us and of course learn about these topics, go to our page and register. Then we have an Oracle German event which is happening next week, Tuesday, which of course we deliver for German customers. If you're coming from Germany and you'd like to learn more about Oracle Apex, feel free to go to our German page and you will find there the event to register. Then there is also another program myself and Tom we are responsible for, namely Kickoff Your Oracle Cloud Journey. This is part, of course, of our onboarding initiative. So if you are new to OCI and you would like to learn how to get started, you will see there in the schedule 3 sessions, one covering basics of I don't know, how to start with OCI, some concepts, terminology, guided through the cloud console, and how to manage your costs and to work with my Oracle support. Then the part 2 is covering more on the networking side and autonomous data warehouse. So we show you all, of course, in a hands-on fashion way. So we show you how to create and deploy your first autonomous data warehouse. And how to create your first Oracle Container Engine for Kubernetes cluster. Then the part 3 is more into application development and security. So we show you how to create your first application and using Oracle functions and Python, and how to apply security services to it. So if you'd like to join any of these events, go to our events page. You will see them all there. And we really hope to see you, to have you back soon. Regarding today, Diksha has another good news for you. So you can book a private call with Diksha to discuss on the topic we covered today, which is globally distributed database. We offer 2 private sessions, each 20 minutes, on the 19th of June from 1 p.m. Central Eastern Summer Time. So if you'd like to book your slot, feel free to either scan the QR code that you see now on your screen or copy the bit.ly link that Tom shared with you on chat. Many thanks, Tom, for sharing it. one thing you need to be aware, so this call cannot replace any of the workload discussions you might have. It cannot be a support call. And of course, we need to stick to the 20 minutes time because we need to allow other customers to join us in the time frame that we schedule it. All right. Last but not least, there is an Oracle Cloud adoption chatbot available on our OCI community public Slack workspace. If you'd like to use it, feel free to do so. You can just download it from the app side. Then you just click /chatbot, put your question in, and the bot will provide answers to you on the go. Bear in mind that we are training this bot every day, and it was fully built on Oracle Generative AI Services plus, of course, Oracle Autonomous Database, Oracle Database 23 AI. So feel free to test it. Let us know any feedback and we will greatly appreciate it because we are working on improving it every day. Here is another slide with a lot of links, documentation available to you, but I won't bore you to death and take you through all these slides. You will get a copy of the presentation today on the OCI Community Workspace channel. In case you cannot join us on the Slack community, but you would like to get a copy of the presentation, feel free to email us, and myself or Tom will be happy to share with you.